I'd like to call the meeting to order. Today is Tuesday, May 7th, 2019. This is our corporate fund budget meeting. We will begin first at 6 p.m. with City Council.
Is there any questions? See if there's any questions.
Is there any questions on it? It's pretty basic.
Nothing has changed and looks pretty good.
So what page? Page 5.
Page 5.
Page 5.
Thank you. Appreciate that. Okay, let me catch up, please. Okay. Madam Chair.
Councilwoman Hicks Clayton.
I know, just a question. Any legal fees, any consideration for that in the city council budget?
It's not on that page. It's on page 15.
I'm sorry. Thank you for clarification.
Okay, well, the general budget is, our salaries are a total of $76,749. The fringe benefits, which doesn't look like anybody really used last year, is an allowance of $5,872. And that's it. We have
Madam Chair.
Councilman.
Fringe benefits, what, can someone explain that to me? What?
FICA.
FICA, oh, okay, that's just FICA for us, okay.
Councilwoman Hicks Clayton.
Real quick, the travel education is not included as a budget item, or number, I should say. We have traditionally, since I believe 2012 or 2013, have requested monies to be in education. As city council members, their professional development and information is very important to them. You know, going to Michigan Municipal League, things like that. Many of you have gone to the newly elected and found it quite beneficial. And of course, things are always changing. So for us to be current versus taking it out of our own personal pocket, which I've done for many, many years, and have not objected, other than I'd like to see that continue to be as a budgeted item.
Well, I think I agree with you, is just keeping it at the $3,500 as it's always been. Normally, when you do a budget, it's given out to the different directors. No one gave me the city council budget to do. This is the first time I'm able to actually speak on it. So yes, I do agree with putting $3,500 as we've always done, and we don't usually use it. I mean, this year we've only used 297 of that for all 6 of us.
Yes,
So
I would
it's
like
just
to see
there.
that in there, 3,500.
All right. You know, like I said, we normally don't use it anyways, but...
In case.
Madam Chair?
Councilman Constant?
Yeah, well, in the past, we've used the money for training and then some, for example, for the parliamentary procedure training. But the $35,000 for legal fees...
35,
We're not there.
For education.
It's for travel education, $3,500.
Right, I understand that, but the line 101, $35,000 for
Well,
legal
no, we're
fees.
not there yet.
We're not there yet. We're on page 5.
We're on page 5, our city council budget. That's not the budget we're on right now.
Right.
You got it?
Got it.
Number 5. Okay. Any other comments or concerns on the city council budget? Okay, well, move on next to the mayor's office. That would be on page 9. Mayor, would you like to read your budget?
I'll take any questions, but head counts remaining the same, and most of the accounts are remaining the same.
Okay. Do you have the breakdown on it?
What do you mean the breakdown?
All right. And that's pretty basic.
This is all,
Yeah, because like the other department, well, we're not buying any vehicles in this department, so we don't really have to worry about
There's
it.
no capital outlay, and it's basically the salaries and the fringe benefits, and I didn't really increase anything. The fringes increase as a result of the healthcare increases to employees.
Okay. All right, let him finish.
Sure.
Well, is he
Oh, you all
done?
set?
Let him finish.
Okay.
Are you done?
Yeah, unless you have questions.
Councilman Abdullah?
So I had a question, Mr. Mayor, in regards to, on the executive secretary, you seem to have cut that in half. What's the situation with that one? Because it went from the current salary of 42,000
Yeah,
to the
that's-
budget of 21.
Go ahead.
Go ahead, Director Van.
Stephanie gets paid out of, that's who the executive secretary, half of her wage has always been paid out of the mayor's and the other half is ordinance.
Okay, so we're not changing no hours
We're
then?
not changing her.
Okay.
It was that way last year. The other half of her wage is being paid by ordinance.
I see. Okay, thank you.
Council Chair?
Councilman Muscat.
No capital outlay. What about something to improve your office?
There's some questions I've had discussions with building and maintenance, and what it
Let's
seems...
face it, you have no place to put anything.
No, but what ends up happening is other projects push in, and then I tell them, like, go ahead and get that other one done because, you know, it's a senior center, it's this, and mine, I still got panels missing.
I'm
but-
just wondering why, yeah, I mean, it should have probably put in for something so we could, you know, have it. I guess we can go back and visit it when the time comes.
Yeah, let's do that.
Councilor,
Thank
you
you.
definitely need some upgrades there and place to store paperwork. I mean, you've got the stuff all over the place, so.
I agree.
Madam Chair?
I got Councilman Bazey first. and then-
Yeah, also, we need to change the chief of staff. I don't see that in the charter, so we got to go back to where it was last year. So I don't know, we keep putting that down.
As executive assistant
Administrative
or
assistant.
administrative assistant?
Yep.
That's correct. Because the charter does not allow for a chief of staff, but it does allow for administrative assistant, and I think that's what you meant, Mayor, isn't it?
No, I think she's chief of staff. She's a
Then that's a
very
new position that we
competent,
would-
important person in the city.
Right,
If
but
it's
we're going by the
provided for
charter.
the charter.
And so, I mean, we have room for administrative assistant, but there is no chief of staff, and I don't want her to be without a job by taking it and using the wrong title.
You call her whatever you want to, I'll call her whatever I want to.
Okay. Councilman Abdullah.
Mayor, I'm wondering, on the CDBG director, why is that a part of your budget?
You know, it's a, I'll give you the history of it. And in fact, a couple individuals asked me, and we did some further research. We talked to, in fact, Carmen Oliverio, and he was the one originally. When CDBG was first formed, and that was during the Nixon, when he was president, and Mayor Canfield, and that's not Ruth, but John L. Canfield, created that particular grant coordinator position. And Carmine was afraid that if the grant program disappeared, because they did not know how long CDBG, President Nixon took a whole bunch of programs and put them all together and created a CDBG and a housing. And so what they did was they put it in here so that if in fact the CDBG program was not to be funded anymore, there'd be a spot for it. So that's why it's in here. I mean, he actually gets paid and funded out of CDBG.
Right, so shouldn't be out of this
Well,
particular budget?
here's the other thing. In the revenues, there's a number to match his pay and his fringes. So it would just be a wash. So you can take it out, but he'll still be in CDBG, or you can leave it in. But that's why it was in there. So for consistency, I've kept the same thing going. But that's how it evolved. Carmen confirmed that. I was here at that time. That was my understanding of it, but we wanted to check with Mr. Oliverio, and he said, yeah, that, because he said, he took the job, but he said, I don't want to, in a year, end up getting bumped and fired. So John Canfield said, I'll put you in my budget, and Carmen was able to retire here, so the program's continued. It's purely up to the council. If you take out this position, and if you take it out, we're still going to fund them on CDBG, we're not eliminating them, then there would be an offset in revenues, a direct offset.
Madam Chair?
Councilman Constant?
Yeah, and the current president has talked about, at least originally, severely cutting back the HUD money. So I think that's a good idea. Carmen Olivero was our CDBG director for, what, 30 years?
A long time, I don't know how long.
Under Lyle Van Houten, all under Ruth Canfield, and then till he retired.
But he was in on John L. Canfield, so you'd go Canfield, John Harris, Frank Swapka,
All right.
Don Bishop, so
Okay,
maybe
did
40 years.
Have any other questions in regards to this in the council?
Are we, I'd like to find out, where's the unfunded liabilities that we're supposed to be funding? Is it on here? I couldn't see it.
Where's
Is
that
there?
located? Yeah.
Well, it wouldn't be in the mayor's office.
No, but which area? I looked through it.
Linda, isn't it
Comptroller
in?
Vance.
Linda will answer, but
It was in the 200 fund that I presented.
Okay,
in the
that's
first
fine.
night.
Okay.
It's broken out between the revenue for the village, and then the expenditure side is in the 200 fund. Part is at 345, the other part says general government. There's 2 new lines in the budget.
Okay, thank you. Okay, do we have any further questions in regards to the mayor's office budget? Well, let's move on. Next, we have cable TV with Lee Gavin,
45.
and that would be on page 45.
Good evening, Council Chair and Council, residents. I was going to take a minute or two, if I could, before I go over the budget, just maybe address a little bit with the flooding, some things we've done and some upcoming programs that we have set up tomorrow.
Go ahead. Well, you know what, let's do that at the end.
Okay.
Let's do it at the end. That way, it doesn't get mixed in with the budget stuff.
Okay.
Because, yeah, I think that's important, too.
So with the budget there, I didn't give you no sheets. Everything is up there, and I don't know what the comptroller gave you, but we could go over each account. You know, some are up a little bit, others are down, but the budget is basically close to last year. If there's any question on those amounts, I could answer them.
Madam Chair?
Councilman Abdullah?
So I had a question for you. On the part-time, you had it on the 2018-19 amended budget was $57,500, and the total activity on that one was $15,080. Requested budget is zero this time, but then you go to the next, on the next line, it's part-time again, and there was nothing in the amended budget, but then 35,000 activity, but then the requested 65,000. So I don't know if this is a controller question.
Yeah, we can direct it to her. They had 2 part-time accounts, so Linda, you can address that.
Yeah, there was 2 part-time accounts in the system, and when I did the new payroll system, all of the part-time other accounts and all the other funds is the 707-100. So with the new payroll system, it automatically directs it in there. This one just had an odd number. It's the same money, it's just going into 2 pots.
So you're eliminating one of the accounts then?
Or combining them?
We can combine them, I
Is
just
that what
want to move it right. Yeah, that's what we're doing. It's the same account, it's just the money is being
Okay.
allocated different.
Also, down at the bottom, you got capital outlay. There's 2 accounts, and we deleted one, and she left the numbers to the other.
I see.
So-
Yeah, that was one of my questions again. So a couple other questions, if you don't mind, Council Chair.
Sure, go ahead.
You had on the newsletter EXP, and then that went to zero, from 27.5 to zero. Do you know why that is? Are we eliminating that? Is that the
That's going to be
magazine?
handled out of the mayor's office newsletter.
That's the magazine, I presume.
That's
Is that-
magazine.
Right.
Right. I was not part of that when I took over. That was done by Mr. Ancrap, but that's going to come out of
I
a
see, so you're switching it
different
over to
account.
the mayor's? Okay, but I didn't see it on there. I don't know unless I missed it. Did I miss it? In the mayor's
I didn't
budget?
see
I think general fund, it's not,
General fund,
yeah, it's
okay.
in the mayor's budget.
Okay. And then the next one was, well, telephones, that was not a big deal. It just dropped a little bit. And repair and maintenance, you went up a little bit. But then the capital outlay, we have the 450,000. I know you said you combined 2, but there's capital outlay 450,000, previous year amended budget 0. Can you give us a little more information on that, if you don't
Right,
mind?
so last year we had in there, there was in there 75,000, and I believe.
And 3,000, no, and
CHAM
3,000
come
also.
to you to get maybe a contractor to come in and look at doing the studio. So this year, I left that in there, plus I put, or 2 estimates to get the studio done that I think she had presented in the last budget, but we didn't put it in. So we're 2 estimates. Was 30,000 was one of them to get the council chambers updated, and then the other one was 343,000 to get a new studio, the new cameras and all that equipment. And then I think when it was brought before the council back then, it was put on hold to be discussed later. So I added that to the budget, since the budget don't start till July going to the following year. So I put it in there with the hopes that maybe we can get something done.
And this is going to be taken out of the current 850,000 that is available?
Whatever's in that fund, yes, the cable fund.
Approximately 850 that's available.
Now, is it possible we can get a breakdown on that 450 to show exactly how you plan on using it?
Yeah, I can make some copies of our estimates on the cameras, and then on the council chambers updating it. So Stan and Angela, and I thought Siam was going to be here, they got these estimates the end of last year, I believe.
Council Chair?
No, actually, I was going to ask the same thing about a breakdown of the 450. So the 450, the last question is,
Go ahead.
in addition to your questions, so the 450 is part of the PEG money?
Yes,
Okay.
or whatever, yeah, whatever it's called.
So where's the rest of it?
Where does it show up on the budget, the balance of the PEG money? I think I saw it somewhere.
Yeah, I don't know that balance. It's not on my,
Comptroller?
That would be a balance sheet account.
Sure.
You can see the balance, but when I presented the revenue to you, the first meeting.
Okay, here it is
Bottom of the
on,
revenue, it shows
that's,
appropriation
okay.
from fund balance. And I did a little extra spreadsheet that was going to give you estimated what I think after this year, where it'll be and such. But if you look in the front of the revenue, you'll see with the 450.
It's a separate page right in front of
right,
revenue.
968, 158 is what I'm showing. Oh, Linda, could you please step to the microphone?
Separate page.
Yeah, because the residents couldn't hear
Get
it.
it?
I appreciate it.
It should have been the front before your revenues.
Okay, so for the PEG money, first thing is the balance would be on our balance sheet.
is
So you
that
don't
the
see that, but I did do a little accounting of an estimate of what I think it's going to be by the end of this year. So it started with the number in the audit, which was 890,000, adding the money that came in, subtracting the cable budget, and got an estimate, and then next year's estimate as well. And if you look on the revenue side, you will see that the 450,000 for the repair of the facility is being appropriated from fund balance. And you can also see where I separated the PEG amount from the regular franchise amounts on the revenue side, so you can see that more clearly from the future.
Thank you. Councilman Babby?
I actually, this doesn't relate to just this one here for the comptroller. What does it take to get this budget in an Excel format so we can track, so the council can track it?
The mayor directed, said that it wasn't coming in Excel.
No, I mean, not right now, but when it gets sent to us, I'd like to get an Excel copy of it.
Yeah, we're council's requesting an Excel
Once we can
copy.
do that conversion with BSNA, that'll be available.
We should be able to do it now, and the system is what I understood.
So before we approve it, go through it, is there a way we can get a copy of that Excel sheet before we approve the budget next time? I mean, I don't need it now, if we can get it by the next meeting.
You're not going to get the same document that would...
It would look differently. Yeah.
So Linda and myself met with BSNA because the department heads had the same issue, that it's downloaded from BSNA into a spreadsheet, then there's a different spreadsheet for the actual salaries, then there's another spreadsheet for something else. So what you would get, it wouldn't be a workable document. It'd be all these different separate sheets. So what we have worked with BSNA, and they were supposed to do it in the next couple months, was an item that you could actually look at, you could access, and it could be a workable document, but we don't have that right now.
Okay, thank you.
Councilman Abdullah?
Ray was next.
Oh, Councilman Muscat?
Yes. Director? How many part-time employees do we have right now?
Three. We got Stan, Angela, and Siham.
Okay, and am I looking at this right, the salaries, 15 and 16, we were at 32,631. 16, 17, it went to 44,19, and now you're requesting 57,5, which is a total increase of about $13,500. Is that,
So I increased, I'm put down for $1 an hour raise for all of them, and that come out to a $1,400 increase on my sheet, maybe.
$1,400 each?
No, $1 an hour.
$1 an hour?
For however many hours, and it come out to $4,400 for the three of them over the course of the year.
So where's the other money going to then, if you're requesting 57.5?
CHOM, if I might, while we budgeted for her, many times she did not put a request in for pay, and in essence was working for free as a contribution to the community. But that changed about 18 months ago, as I recall.
Was that job, not to say I don't want to start a controversy here.
Yeah.
But these are positions that weren't brought forth before council to approve.
Well, it's a part-time position, so in essence, there's been other part-time people that have worked on like senior things and stuff. So as long as you approve the amount in the part-time and we keep within that budget amount.
And that's acceptable, thank you.
Comptroller Vance, I see you're
Yeah,
at the
just so you
microphone.
know, Mr. Muscat, you are looking at the wrong column. The 57.5 is this current year budget.
21819 requested, as I'm looking at.
The last column is 21920. I don't know if you're looking at the wrong thing.
This is what you gave me.
65, this is,
This is the number, 65 is the number we should look at.
65,
is here. So this is this current year that we're in, that ends in July, that was 57.5.
Here's a different page. Where did that page come from?
I have no idea.
I have no idea. Hey, this is what I...
This is, it doesn't even have, this is last year.
I understand that. That's what I'm looking at. This is what I got in my packet. This is all I received, just like this.
You would have gotten a whole big
Yeah, you should have,
packet.
this is the one we're working out of.
So this is the questions I'm having
Page
because 45.
Yeah.
This is what I have, 45 right
That's
here.
it. That's the amount.
Yeah, this is it.
Here's the whole packet that was given to the council.
Yeah, 57.5, I have it here. Okay.
And then the new year, because we were just talking about how the two part-time carts, I combined it, it's 65. So it went from 57.5 to 65. But if you look at the prior year
So
activity.
that's where I come up with the $7,000 difference.
Okay, so, and then the council approved to have all study
That's-
sessions now recorded, which they weren't, so that's added
That's right.
wages.
So that's a $7,000 increase that I looked at. Yes, thank you.
And so,
I'm all set now. I just
got it? Okay.
got different paperwork here and...
Madam Chair.
Councilman Constant?
So is the newsletter with the income, does the newsletter break even with the ads, or is it still costs some money to
I'll tell you what, I'm new, I have not worked during the term of the newsletter, so
Yeah,
I
we have to
can't.
supplement it. We don't receive enough revenue to cover the cost of the whole item.
The ads are like 3,000.
Yeah.
John Zadikian's doing the billings for those, never mind.
Councilman Abdullah?
So Chief, I'd like to get a little bit more of a clarification, if you don't mind. So 450,000, I know you said you're going to send us the estimates, and of course, that would be helpful. But just to give me a vision, I know you're not going to have all the numbers right now, so I respect that. But just to give me a vision of what is planned for that particular studio, because obviously it's been a very controversial situation lately, to say the least. So I'd like to see what your vision is for that 450,000, especially considering that the ending balance is going to be 582,358. So you got another over $500,000 left. But for the 450 that you're asking for on the budget, what's your plan in general? Are we talking about cosmetic changes? Are we talking about, for beautiness, when they're taking a video? Are we talking about cameras? What specifically?
Okay, that bid went out last August of 18, so it's going to be a year old. That's when the crew did it. The 28,900, let's say 29,000, is to update the council chambers here and a lot of this stuff.
And when you say you're talking about the mechanicals and electronics, we're not talking about cosmetic, right?
Right. Stan, maybe, why don't, Stan got some of these estimates, why don't he maybe chip in as to what that's going to entitle
Well,
Stan?
yeah, no, if you provide us with the breakdown, that would help too. That would answer so many questions.
It's
And
the
we-
bid, okay.
But you know what, with all due respect, I asked a question, I'd like to have a general answer.
Oh, no,
I don't need
that's still
every
too.
detail, yeah.
Yeah. It's just,
I don't, yeah, but you know what, when you ask, I don't stop you, so please, if I ask a question, I'd like to be answered, thank you.
Stan was part of the group that went out for bid, so last year, maybe these are two things.
Yeah, I just want to get a general idea of what's proposed there.
Okay, I'll try to do this to the best of my knowledge.
Okay, just a general outline, I'm just trying to get an idea.
Okay, well, the two things as Lee Gavin had told you, one was for upgrades here inside the council chambers. Obviously, the audio, we were talking about having cameras mounted so that we could get better angles instead of having to constantly switch. They was talking about putting a small control room in where the audio room is. Things like that for the council chambers. Now, in the studio, that's where a lot of the maintenance is really needed. A lot of the equipment is poor and shot. We're talking about equipment used in the 80s.
Right, I've seen
We
it.
have one camera, as we refer to as the Frankenstein camera, because we're constantly trying to find parts on eBay from other cameras and having them put together so that we can get something working. There is an electrical problem, some kind. We can't keep the lights on too long without it smelling. Denise and Mr. Bazzi were there when we
Yes.
had to call the fire department because we thought something was on fire. We are down to only 2 microphones in the studio, where we were used to be able to have 4. And then on top of that, just completely rehauling everything.
Is there going to be, I know at one point Sam had talked about cosmetic too.
Right.
Is there going to be any cosmetic stuff or just the cameras and
Well,
stuff?
cosmetic things, that would be things like small, like furniture.
That's
like-
what I was talking about.
Yeah,
Okay, so
things
it'll be
like,
something. Okay.
you know.
Gives me an
flats and
idea. I
stuff
just want to
like
get a
that.
general
Yeah,
idea.
Yeah, so stuff like
Thank you.
that.
Thank you, Stan. There's some discussion of maybe building a whole new studio. No, that's not part of that price. This is just basically the cameras and the lighting and the equipment like that. So that bid come out to $343,000. We've been buying some parts. Our cameras, we can't buy them, so I have them look on eBay. We'll buy something. And the one camera we just got recently, it's on its last leg. It puts a line across the camera. So, they're the ones that work with it every day. We are the ones as residents that watch cable, and I think we all admit the sound and sometimes the picture isn't clear. So it'd be nice to get some new equipment. I'm not an expertise, but those guys deal with that stuff a little bit more, so they would know.
Council Chair?
Yes.
I do have a question myself. The cameras and equipment that we will be buying, could that be adapted into the new studio when we do go forward with that? I just want to make sure we can
Yes.
fit it into
The
where it
equipment that
belongs.
we get, if we make any other modernization to the studio, let's say the building, if we extended and made the studio larger that CHAM was considering, none of those prices are in here for that. But our new equipment, Stan, if I'm wrong, will blend in with whatever we do in the future.
Correct to a point. I mean, if we went ahead and got new equipment, and then with putting the renovation off,
I mean, this is
it would
useless
cost a
stuff,
little
yeah.
bit more to put all the new equipment in, tear it out, then reorganize everything, and then having to put it back in.
So with this equipment that you guys got the bid on, this would though be the good equipment, would get us up and running
It would
and,
get us up and running, it would be higher definition, it would be better quality, it would be all new. It's obviously, like I said, 80s equipment but compared to 2019, so.
Council Chair?
Councilman Muscat?
All that is good and dandy, but we had $890,000 there, and I made a statement once that I don't care if we spent the whole $890, it's there. We can't use it for anything but there.
Correct.
I mean, we should be able to try to spend what we can spend, patch up what we have now just to keep us going, and in the meantime, go all out and build a nice studio. The money is there, and we can't use it for anything but the studio. So to say, well, we're going to spend $450 and let the others sit there, to me, it's not worth it.
And I understand that. Just our problem listening to them is we're down to, it's hard to even run an interview in the studio because of our cameras. They got to go out and...
I don't think it's going to cost $450,000 just to keep it going until a studio is built.
No,
That's what I'm saying, is, I mean, we can spend $100,000 to keep it going until the studio is completely redone. And to me, that would be the best bang for our dollar.
And I can work with them to see what they need to get us by. But I do know some of the equipment, like Stan says, in CM, we're on the last leg. And, you know, if one more camera goes down, then we can't even film the
We've been on our
council.
last leg for 5-10 years. Yep. We've heard that story over and over again, and I'm afraid that it's going to happen sooner than later.
Councilman Wenzel?
If we buy some new equipment, new cameras, it has to be compatible with everything that's going to be bought new in the future. Now, if we bought a new camera, right now, say we paid $50,000 for a camera, would we need other equipment to support that camera? And everything we buy has to be compatible with what we're going to do in the future. We can't buy all new stuff and then have a mainframe that's made out of wood, you know?
I understand what you're saying.
And
to the extent that with all the equipment that we're getting, it's all going to be upgraded to high definition, which will all be compatible and such, and unless standard formats change again, then it should last us until the next upgrade.
I noticed in here, there's no money, I don't think there is, for training. With all this new equipment, I'm assuming there's going to be some training involved.
I think that was part of the contract on some of those. Let me find it. I saw it down at the bottom. You know what? Chrissy took the forms to make some copies real quick, and then I'll give you, like I said, that would have been the last estimate from August of 18. But on the bottom, you'll see it includes training of the employees.
Councilwoman Hicks Clayton?
Thank you, Madam Chair. My question for you, Director Gavin, I want to say Chief, sorry.
Lee.
Chief of Cable.
With the cable, and actually I agree with Councilman Muscat, that the money is there, it's restricted. A studio improvement and upgrade is overdue. We hear all the time from residents, they are not happy with the quality, they can't hear, all these other things. I think this is really important for us. We're, as a city with a future, we need to be investing, right? When with that investment, what I'm asking you now is, how will you, or are you planning to partner with our local high schools and colleges to have internship programs through this, I can't wait to see this beautiful facility, for those who are interested in broadcasting, so we're investing in our youth.
We would work on that, but right now, you see our equipment and you see our studio. It's almost embarrassing to bring anyone into work.
But after you get to the state-of-the-art center.
It would be a waste of time to bring people in now.
Right, and that's exactly why I said when you have, because again, don't put the cart before the horse. We need to get the studio, that's a priority, because again, the residents are the ones saying, hey, we can't hear it. Have you ever turned it up all the way and then and accidentally turned the TV on in the middle of the night, like that? Have you had that happen? I've had that happen. Others have had that happen. So again, the priority is the money's there. I think we hopefully can concur, to get it done. And then think visioning out ahead of time, proactive, to bring in our youth, because we need to invest in our youth, and an internship program in broadcasting through municipal government is a wonderful way to facilitate that. That's what I'm asking for your consideration.
No, we will work on that once we get the new equipment. If as a council you release X amount of money, I will work with our employees, and we will develop and come with a studio based on however much money you would give us. If you increase it to $500,000 or $600,000, you know what? Then naturally the council has to approve the purchases. We would come up with a different game plan as to what we could do with that much money. We could report back to you. We could have a study, like a study find, and see what we can develop for $600,000 or $500,000. Some people want a whole new studio, knock some walls out. do we need that? That's if we're going to reach out with our youth and other people. So there's a lot that we could do depending on the amount of money.
Thank you.
I think Stan wanted to say something.
Go ahead, Stan.
Just on the clarify the things of the current problems with like audio issues and things like that. Obviously, it's hit and miss. Obviously, like here within the studio, we got 12 open mics here in this, so everything is going to be heard, and sometimes it's going to be bad. Other times it could be things like Comcast or WOW or AT&T themselves, because they have sometimes, when they get the image, it might be too bright, or they might some reason tweak it for some reason. We call them, they have to make a change to it. But this is issues that we've been having for the whole time I've been here, which is 11 years. So it's one of those things that we constantly are trying to work on. When we do our shows, we set them at a certain level, and it goes out at that certain level. So,
Well, I give you credit because 11 years is a long time to deal with something that should be fixed because the money's there.
well,
All right, thank you for sharing. Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Thank you again.
While we're on the subject, if we don't mind, if you don't mind, please, thank you. Have we ever thought about doing something in here with, instead of screens, a TV, like modern facilities have? They have the big screen TV monitors. Yeah. I mean, we've got a screen, and one time we had just the overhead. I mean, we're, like Councilman Abdullah once said, this place could be in the Henry Ford Museum or Smithsonian.
Well, it's like we put
look at the carpeting, it's green.
What color is it? Green or gold? Yeah.
And we added these TVs, but that one is for VHS. Yes, who has those?
I mean, that's a CRT TV.
Do you have an extra copy of that?
It's a CRT TV. It's not even a smart TV. I mean,
it's worn down.
But look at that chair right there. I always wondered about that chair.
It's just people walk in here and they wonder, what is this place?
In the court, we have you put a CD in and then it shows.
Well, sure.
So again, that estimate is almost a year old.
Like I said, we have $890,000. We should spend it.
I'm all for it. I think our residents would
Can't use it for
enjoy that.
anything
At least
else,
see a
so.
clear council meeting, and
They won't know what to do with it.
We could put a green screen behind us and we could be anywhere on the beach.
you get
Mountains.
I was thinking Snowski, but beach, all right, beach.
I guess where we're at.
We're here.
Come join us next time.
That would go really bad.
So back to that capital outlay, was a $75,000 that was in this year's budget, plus those two amounts down there, the almost $30,000 and $343,000.
All right.
There's training involved in these quotes.
Down at the bottom, right?
It does include, the last paragraph. That page, yeah.
So yes, the price includes a training for staff and 1 year parts and labor.
Hope we can do more than 1 year parts and labor.
Extended warranty?
What's that?
Can we purchase an extended warranty?
You know what? I'll look at who they got the bid from, and I'm sure.
We're spending a lot of money here. They
Yeah.
ought to be able to come up with something better than 1 year.
And we'll probably have to get a rebid since this is already 9
You
months
buy a
old.
car for $36,000 and you get 3 years.
3 years.
And there's probably something more advanced. It's been a whole year. That's
Yeah.
old stuff already.
That's right. Need a new bid with some new equipment.
I would think more than a year should be added in there. 5 years, for God's
Yeah,
sake.
5 year, something, because we need technology and all that. Temperamental.
Is that it?
That's it.
Anybody else have any questions
questions?
for Lee before he leaves? Okay.
Okay.
Thank you. Next on the agenda, we have the assessor with Anthony Pucco. I'm sorry, I apologize. We don't get to say your name that often, so once a year.
Good evening.
Page 14.
Madam Council Chairwoman, Council, and Mr. Mayor. Our budget is a pretty cut and dry. We're a contractor that we don't have a lot of individual line items, I guess, to look
Okay.
at. It's pretty much a cut and dry budget. We are requesting a little bit of an increase for this new budget year, the 19 through 20. And a few of the reasons why we're asking for that is, we haven't had any change in our contract in the last few years, which was $250,000 in the last few years that we had the contract. So it's kind of a contract renewal that's coming up, and with that, the reasons that we're looking at the increases, we have roughly 5 to 6 employees to staff the office that we pay for out of that budget, and they've not had a change in salary in the last few years. And so basically, we have to look at a raise to them to keep the experienced staff on board. And also, there's education that we have changes that the State Tax Commission is constantly giving us. So we have seminars and education that we have to maintain that continuing education, and there's costs involved in that, and we pay for that out of our budget, or the contract, I guess. The expenses for field work now is the burden of the employee now. They use their own vehicles, paying for their own gas, oil, insurance, wear and tear, maintenance, where in the past, when they were part-time employees with the city, they were able to use the city vehicles. And so now that's been given up, so they're on their own with paying their own expenses. So that's part of the reason for part of their salary increase as well. And, in the field work as well, there's been a lot of increase of activity and workloads. We look at, a lot of new construction. There's many properties that where permits were issued, and we have to determine new valuations affecting the assessed and taxable values. We've had a lot of increased activity as well by the state, the workload that they're giving us regarding personal property statement processing, as well as property transfer affidavits, principal resident exemption affidavits, veterans exemptions, poverty hardship requests, and property transfer affidavits are very important for us to review because that's where there's been a change of ownership, and it does affect the taxable values of properties for the uncapping. If there's been a change of ownership, we want to maintain that uncapping process.
If I might just mention two things. One is you'll get on next agenda a new contract. You've been working with Gary Miotke on the language, and that'll be on the next agenda. This budget correlates and parallels that contract, is my understanding.
That's correct.
The other thing, and I had an opportunity a couple months ago to talk with Councilman Abdel, and I don't want to put words in your mouth, but you had indicated that generally people are very happy with our assessor's office, where we, in years past, sometimes we had some difficulties.
Yeah, I mean, in my business, I used to always get complaints on a regular basis about the assessor's office, honestly. I mean, regular basis. And since Tony's taken over, I mean, it's almost non-existent. Actually, I get compliments now that they're liking the assessor's office. And usually, as you know, when people sell a home, they go close the deal, they come deal with you guys, turn in the paperwork, so they mentioned they got smiling people at the desk. And whenever they've had to deal with you guys on a regular basis, I've had nothing but compliments. But I also got to compliment you on something. I know there's been some controversy in the specific surrounding community in regards to assessments. I don't know if you've seen it, over assessment of some properties, and you've done a very, very good job with that overall, where people have been happy, and when people have had issues, they've had the opportunity to be able to speak with you, and you've been great at communicating with them.
Well,
So thank you.
that's what we're there for, to communicate.
I'm sorry. Are you done?
I mean, I have other reasons if you want to hear them. I mean, I don't want to, go on and on and on, but I think, just in summary, I think it's just, these are just a few reasons. The AMAR program that the state has put on us, it's called the Audit of Minimum Assessment Requirements. We have had one audit, and we did pass that, so we are in compliance with the State Tax Commission. And that's a lot of work to keep that compliance up. And I think we're due for another review in 2020. So hopefully we need to maintain what we've been doing so we can get through that audit as well. And plus as a contractor, I have to carry workers' comp and liability insurance, and some of those have increased as well. So that's an extra expense and cost that we have to take on. And plus accounting and tax burdens have increased. So it's a little different being a contractor, because you're kind of making sure that everything's covered and that everybody's getting paid. So, but those are just a few of the reasons, and hopefully that to maintain the expert level of service that the taxpayers expect. Hopefully. The Honorable Council sees that as well and basically approves the new budget.
Okay, Councilwoman Hicks Clayton.
Thank you, Council Chair. And again, I want to start off by saying not questioning your service to our community, by the way, because I have heard good things and do appreciate the service you're doing. So I'll start with that. However, I will add, for the sake of transparency and what the council body has requested more than once, is in what is fair when we talk about contracts in the bid process. I'm just asking a question, nothing else. Anybody can elaborate on that or give me something.
Yeah, one of the difficulties we had when we had an assessor, and she went to Pittsfield Township.
I remember.
And then what happened is we were going to promote the guy inside. In fact, we sent him to all the schooling and everything. And then just when he got certified, he left for Taylor. So we did all the cost of training. At that point in time, we found there's not a lot of people who do this, and particularly at the level. So we had interviewed a company that used to do, I think it was Westland, and there's one other, the former director at Wayne County, Gary, isn't Yanko?
Gary Vanko?
Yeah.
He's the assessor in Dearborn.
Yeah.
But he's basically, he doesn't really do contract work. He's helping out eCourse right now, I think, as a contractor. But that's all he's really doing.
So the difficulty is in finding a service like Tony at the level that he does. And I am not aware of, those are the only two people that I'm aware of.
Proprietary stuff.
Yeah, and I would, we don't want to lose Tony, I think.
Understand.
Council Chair.
Question too.
Councilman Muscat.
I just want to say thank you for stabilizing a situation here in our city over the since I've been coming to council meetings, we've always had difficulties with the assessing department, either being complaints or not being able to have an assessor. And I hear nothing but good things about you. And that's just a statement that I want to make, and I truly believe in you.
I appreciate that. Thank you so much.
Councilman Constant.
And so, Tony, how many cases do we have, if any, that go actually to the tribunal for decision? Aren't virtually all of them worked out by your office?
Not necessarily. We typically try to work out what they call the entire tribunal appeals, because those could be very costly. And once we do our valuation disclosures and we basically work out some, we've gotten a few dismissed. We've gotten a few where you basically do stipulate to a value. because there's some room to do that, and it's actually better for the city, because once you get attorney fees and you get all the other costs involved, it's just, it's not worth it. And we have small claims, and usually the small claims we go to hearings on. In fact, we had 2 cases that were scheduled back when we had bad weather. So we had somebody go down for those 2 cases and then found out that the tribunal was closed because of the bad weather. So they rescheduled those 2 hearings. In fact, they're coming up on May 17th. So we're going down to the tribunal on May 17th for those 2 rescheduled hearings. So, a lot of them we go to, and it just, we just take each one on its own merit and see, what's the best deal for the city, really.
But very few actually, especially no residential appeals go all the way through to the tax tribunal, do they?
Some do and some don't. It just depends on, like I said, on a case-by-case basis. There's times where we do stipulate to a value if it looks like there's a problem there, because we are working with the BSNA system. And this year, we just got a new assessor's manual from the state, so everything was recalculated from the state assessor's manual, and then we had to redo all our land values. So it was a pretty intense process for the 2019 assessment. So sometimes when they get all recalculated like that, there's a little margin of error there that we say, oh, well, there's a little wiggle room here to take care of it, and we try to do that. That's why we have the Board of Review, and I think our Board of Review appeals were down this year as well. So it's I can't, it's hard to answer because we just take it on a case-by-case basis.
All right, thank you.
Councilwoman Hicks
Thank you,
Clayton.
Madam Chair. Mr. Fuco, respectfully, would you be able to provide an update? I have a question. Speaking of tax tribunal, back in June 2018, I had made a request regarding Act 345 and some accounting, which is separate from you, of course. But on the bottom of that letter that I have, it talked about the Home Depot and the appearing before a tax tribunal, if we all recall that letter that was presented at this council meeting, a council meeting in 2018. And it talked about, I think it was $270,000 maybe, that was being put aside in anticipation of possibly losing at the tax tribunal level to Home Depot, the appeal that they filed. Can you give us an update what happened with that? And, because again, that was under Act 345. That was on city letterhead and clearly stated for Home Depot Tax Tribunal under, again, Act 345.
Well, we did end up doing a stipulation to change the value of that. We did have an appraisal on it, and of course, the opposing party had an appraisal, and we were a ways apart. Now, again, this is the big box appeals, and I could sit here for the next couple hours and talk about big box appeals, how against the cities those appeals are. They have been ruling on those, making huge reductions to, and so a lot of cities were fighting it, spending a lot of money and still losing. So we looked at our appraisal, we looked at their appraisal, and we just basically worked out a stipulation that we could live with, because taking a chance to go to the tax tribunal in those situations could have cost the city a lot more money as far as a reduction, because, we look at it as maybe probably $40, $50 a square foot, and the tribunal has been reducing those big boxes down to $20, $25 a square foot. So it's been horrendous, and there's been a lot of controversy over this, but it's something we had to live with and we had to work with. But I think in the end, it came out to be a bigger savings to the city.
What was the final, in the end?
I don't have it right in front of me. I mean, I can get that for you.
Would you please send it to the council?
Not a problem.
Please.
I mean, it's been over a year and something now. So, and there were 3 parcels involved, so, there's a little bit more detail of how that worked out, but I have no problem.
I appreciate that, thank you.
Councilman Wenzel, did you still have a question?
Yeah, I did. I didn't know till I was on city council that the assessor's office was privatized. And how many other cities in the area have that?
Just about everybody.
But everybody does?
Yeah, obviously, I don't think Taylor does, because when I went...
No, Taylor's still in-house.
They were in-house. Well, where our assessor went Pittsfield, I would assume they're probably.
Right.
But that's different, given our size and what's out at Pittsfield. Almost, when I've gone to meetings, almost everybody is privatized.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, you may have answered the other question. When you do go to court, the attorney fees, they're paid through by the city? City pays the attorney
If
fees?
it's the entire tribunal, yes.
And any negotiations, like with Home Depot, that's paid through city attorney?
Well, it depends on what attorneys are involved.
That-
I mean,
the budget
typically, we
some-
try to do a lot in-house to save that, so it's on basically our dime that we're doing a lot of these appeals. And I'd like to point out that, it's all part of the package. It's not any surprises where another company that does contract work will charge for additional appeals, charge for the legal fees. So there's additional fees that they charge in their contractor cost that basically with us, it's just all in the package.
Is there something in the budget that shows our legal fees that we?
No, what it does is it comes through Sechrist Wardle. And Sechrist Wardle has the staffing and the expertise to handle those. So Gary Mackey doesn't, or any of the other attorneys. And and how we learned about Sechrist Wardle is years ago we had a major conflict with the incinerator. And that's when, I always forget his name, it's a German name, starts with a D.
Dirk Beckerly.
Beckerfield. So if we really end up with a major case, he's like the best of the best, in my opinion, what others have told me. But we just don't have a large number of them. But when we've gotten into a real battle, because we were talking about millions and millions of dollars with the incinerator when it privatized, and we got all of a sudden our assessor put it at price here, and it was a subsidiary of Baltimore Gas and Electric, and they came in at such a ridiculously low figure, and so that was going on, and then they went bankrupt. So we had, I don't know if we ever really collected on those taxes. They just kind of folded and left. But so we found a combination, and it's been greatly reduced, and there have not been a lot of cases in the big ones. They just haven't been existing, but it comes through in the Sechrist Wardle.
Yeah, we see them bi-weekly when we get our packets, when they give us their billing. We see a lot of his name all over the place.
Okay, any other questions from the council members? Okay, at this time, I think we're done with the actual budget. What I'm going to ask at this time, since Lee Gavin has something in regards to the flooding, I'm going to ask him to come back up and we'll take care of that now, because that's important. I mean, we had discussed that earlier this morning, that there's a lot of concerned citizens that need answers.
So I was just going to go over real quick some of the stuff we done, and then there's a meeting coming up tomorrow, and at the end, I'll explain that meeting that we're hosting with Wayne County. But we've seen our neighbors along Ecorse Creek flood many times over the years. While we are waiting for the regional solution, we didn't want our residents to wait for the county, state, or FEMA this time. So we decided to do things a little different as the rains continued. It rained heavy into the night there on May 1st. Realized many homeowners were going to suffer flooding again, as they have in the past. So by 8 o'clock Wednesday morning, we were already fielding many phone calls. Instead of telling the people to wait and see what we're going to do next, we took the names down and we reached out to people that had special and extra needs. We were ready there for them. So we made several calls. We set up some resources with volunteers, contractors, charitable groups, got some gift cards. We couldn't help everyone, but we helped the people in the beginning, the people that had no support system, the ones that we determined needed most help early on. So to this date, just going over some of what have we done, we've put 3 families in hotel rooms. We've helped 5 other people get additional housing, 5 other families. We've helped replace 3 washers and dryers. We've distributed so far 32 gift cards from Myers, Walmart, Saturn. These suppliers were gracious to donate them to them, and we passed them on to the people in need. So we had 19 furnaces. We were able to go out and check with a local contractor. He was able to fix 5 furnaces and 5 hot water tanks. Distributed 7 space heaters. And I'm working with Art Van. We have a list of 63 people that are in need of mattresses. So I'm working with Channel 2 and Art Van, and we're finalizing that. We'll either have them, we told the people we'll get back with them, even have them delivered to a central point, or if they deliver them to the families, that would be greatly appreciated. So we had 71 volunteers out Saturday, included our CERT city employees, and we had assessment sheets from Wayne County. So we went up and down the most severe streets and did some assessment. So that was our preliminary assessment. We submitted that yesterday morning to Wayne County. So everything goes back to Wayne County. We have another conference call tomorrow morning. They work with the state, and everything gets sent back to the governor. And then she'll determine if it goes on to FEMA level. A lot of people call and say, I want to fill out the FEMA paperwork. FEMA has not been involved yet. If the governor sends it up to the next level, then it'll go to FEMA, and then they'll be involved, and we'll advise our residents the next step, some paperwork to fill out. Saturday, we had the police, fire, DPW. We helped 51 people get some heavy items out of their basements. We can't make that a practice, but these were the elderly that were very desperate. So we got that stuff out. We had a trash pickup last Saturday. We'll have another one for our residents in the South End next Saturday, whatever day that is. So it'll be next Saturday. We'll pick those up. They'll be all the heavy stuff. You'll have your normal pickup this week. Today was the first day, and Friday for your residents in South End, and then we'll go by Saturday again with GFL and pick up the heavy stuff. So we dropped off blankets. We're down at the Richard A. Young Center with the Red Cross this weekend, and we passed out over 250 cleaning kits. So there was a process there. You had to come in, see a Red Cross rep, and they distributed the kits to you. So that went over pretty good. A lot of people got advice on how to neutralize, sterilize their basement. So that helped out. 350 buckets, okay. I was 100 short. While this is a horrible situation for our residents, I'm proud and thankful for all the employees and volunteers who offered their extra time and resources to be there for our residents and their families. After speaking with representatives from some of the other cities, and in fact, we had a few other cities come down to the event at Richard A. Young, because it wasn't just for residents, and they expressed how that we're one of the leading communities in reaching out to our citizens. I had a Taylor councilman come down, and he was impressed with the aid he was getting from Red Cross. So lastly, we're still getting calls for help in restoration. Hot water, furnaces, and appliances. We're asking anyone out there, any contractors that are willing to volunteer their services. Still a lot of furnaces are out, hot water tanks. Give the mayor's office a call, 791-3490. We'll add to a list. We still had people calling today. So if we have any contractors. I wanted to discuss the volunteers a little bit. We had a lot of groups call for volunteers. My concern is I don't want to put a lot of the groups with younger kids in that. I didn't want to put them into these homes with that water and contamination. So we kind of limited the volunteers. We had one group, a local church from Dearborn, Woodside Church. They sent us like 15 students and adults, and they helped in the assessment. So we had a lot of good volunteers. And just on a closing note, tomorrow, which is May 8th, at the Justice Center from 1 o'clock to 8 o'clock, we, in cooperation with Wayne County, is going to have a multi-agency resource center set up there. So at the Justice Center. We're going to use the Dowdate room from 1 to 8. Wayne County's going to be there, State of Michigan, and there's going to be different groups. I believe there's 8 groups. The way the director said, it's where residents impacted can receive assistance from an array of government and non-profit agencies. We're going to have the Red Cross, Salvation Army, Wayne County Department of Health, Veterans and Community Affairs, State of Michigan Health and Human Services, State of Michigan Department of Insurance and Financial Services, and Volunteer Organizing Active in Disaster. So it's a VOAD group. I don't know for sure if they'll be looking, for people that they can assist. But I recommend our residents and anyone else that's listening, it's going to be tomorrow from 1 to 8 in conjunction with the county down at the Justice Center. That's it. Thank you for your help. Any questions or anything?
Councilwoman Hicks Clayton?
Thank
Lisa.
you. Yeah, I want to say thank you because I know we had been on the phone since the very beginning trying to find resources. You guys did a great job, by the way.
Thank you.
Trying to, get the resources to people, the American Red Cross, Salvation Army, the following day, setting up at the Justice Center. Thank you to them for that support for emergency shelter for folks. So that was very good. I did want to say, I have, as Senator Alexander's community liaison, we partnered with Services to Enhance Potential to do clothing replacement, and that document has gone out to all of the mayor's offices in the 5th District. So Garden City, Redford, Inkster, Dearborn Heights, part of Detroit has that information. So that is available to residents as well. We want to make sure they know that Services to Enhance Potential STEP is giving out vouchers for the clothing, as well as local food pantries that are delivering. Actually, they're delivering, like today was over 30 families were delivered to. Food, if they've lost food, if their refrigeration, because of power, they lost food, we're replacing things for these folks. I just have one question. You're bringing in disaster relief teams or no? Because I know we had a question about that. There was one that's a national disaster relief team that is through the North American Mission Board, and they work with the Michigan State Police, but I know they don't take care of rental properties. But what about the others that are homeowners that are low income? Do we have a resource to help them clean up?
Tomorrow, when this group shows up, the VOAD group, I learned from the director, emergency management with state police, that a lot of these groups are certified and vetted. We're going to work on getting a list so we know who we can trust and send into these homes of our residents, right? We just don't want to send anyone in and, if we can't trust them and stuff come up missing.
And I understand. And that one group that I shared with you actually helped us in 2014.
And I learned that, yes, eventually
So
from
I
the
have
state
one more
police.
question. You and I already discussed it, but since this is going to be aired and taped, I was contacted because, I know Councilman Wenzel was at the Richard A. Young Center. We were talking to our, residents during a very difficult time, trying to be as supportive as we can be. But many had asked a question about the sirens not being used, and you and I had talked about that and talking about making it uniform across Wayne County. Can you share an update for residents? Just because that question, if some ask, there's others who have the same question.
And that question, in regards to the sirens, usually people are aware when they go off in the spring and the summer with the tornadoes, thunderstorms. She was addressing, could we put them off in the floods? We are working as part of Wayne County Emergency Management to come up with a guideline as to when we use those sirens. If we use them in this past winter, we've used them for some of the snow warnings, and to get the cars off the street. So we're trying to come up with a procedure with Wayne County so that all the communities around are consistent. And when you hear sirens in Garden City or Dearborn, it's all for the same reason. So we're working on that.
Great, thank you.
Councilman Abdullah?
Chief, do you know how many homes have been impacted specifically in Dearborn Heights?
Maybe they can update as of this morning. I thought we had 1,200 names on the list.
That's names turned in, but obviously it's...
That's people that have called us.
Right.
Update.
909 called us, but we have 1,200 estimated.
1,200 estimated.
That goes anywhere from an inch of water around the drain to 8 feet of water.
We've had
homes or just names?
Individual homes.
Yeah, Madam Chair, if I might, I had a conversation with Councilman Wenzel. I've lost track of time, but last couple days, If the council would like, I'm more than happy to put together a program to update, because I think all of you need to get an update. We had one in February, but I don't know that everybody lives with the Ecorse Creek on an everyday basis. I would be willing to get our attorneys and the engineers together, give you a good synopsis of where we're at and what we're doing. The ultimate solution, and the council approved the item, is that we've asked Wayne County to elect immediately a smaller project to get some relief in there. So I checked with Patrick McCulley today, and Patrick said that request has been made. So far, the county has not responded to that, but the Army Corps would come in and do a mini project. The beauty of that is it's not conditional upon federal funding. They already have money in their budget and would be able to operate it. So, but we'd be more than happy to update all of you in regards to where we are on the Ecorse Creek project.
Yeah, because I have a lot of family that lives at the South End, and that's been a problem for years. I mean, way back to the 60s, I remember them having a problem. Councilman?
I remember 214 like it was yesterday, and 211 also.
Mm-hmm.
And I said it then, and I'll say it now. This is bigger than our city. Our city can't do this by itself. This is something that our elected officials in the county, the state, and the federal government need to be, you know, I know they're aware of it, but it's time to get off the pot. Let's put it that way. It's time to get off the pot. I think local government has done just about everything they possibly can do in the last 50 years of this flooding issue. And why we were even allowed to build homes on floodplains just doesn't make any sense to me at all. We see the catastrophes out in California where people lose million-dollar homes because they're built in the wilderness, and you keep building them when you know the fires are going to happen. It just doesn't make any sense to me. Okay, now I'm not saying that the people that are owning these homes are wrong, but 50 years, 50, 60 years ago, they should never have been built. Should never have been built, unfortunately. And I feel, I don't know how I would react to it. I mean, I've had water in my basement in 214, and it was devastating. Yep. And but I can't even begin to know what they felt like. I mean, I had to replace furnaces and water heaters and washing machines and dryers too. It's just a comment. I don't know where we can go with this. I'm just so sick over it. It's enough to make someone cry when you see this stuff. It's horrible.
Yes,
We
Chair.
have a question. What streets were affected the most? Do we know what, I'm sure some of them look pretty bad on the news, and some didn't look all so bad, but they were bad.
We made a map up for Wayne County from Inkster to Southfield, so we got a 3-mile stretch down there.
But Hanover and Courier
That's what
are
I
two
wanted to hear.
that I took the state police lieutenant around to see. But there are other streets that were really badly affected. And then you had the construction that we're doing on Annapolis, which didn't help. And there was also, there's some construction going on around Madison. And so that compounded, but we didn't know that we were going to have a flood, and we wanted to get those streets corrected.
You're never going to know.
No, and it was, I could not transverse on Thursday, but the other thing was, I saw a team of city employees who gave so much time and effort. And Lee Gavin, I also want to recognize Chrissy, but I mean, they were there for hours and hours and channeled all this effort and thing. And I was proud when I went to a Saturday morning meeting and to have other mayors and elected officials, and they told me, your city is doing it better than anybody. And I just felt real pride, but I wish we didn't, even though we have the skill level, I would hope we never have to use it again.
It's a team effort, but back to you, we want to thank Chief Oltatorni. They had the department SWAT truck out, and they were pulling cars down off of Powers, Hanover, at the point. He had officers out there.
Chief
to see how many
Brogan, too,
people
at the
lost
fire.
cars that went into the water, installed
Yep.
it, and now have mechanical issues besides the homes.
After work that night is when, the people come home, they thought they could play in the water. They were pulling people out. The fire truck rescue, they were out there. They sustained some water damage. So they weren't playing, but they were going to some runs, so a couple of the rescue squads and that. So, yeah, city vehicles, just a lot of areas, kind of scattered here and there, so.
Councilman Wenzel?
Living in the South End, I spent a lot of time driving around for the 4 or 5 days there, and it's really heartbreaking. I mean, it's heartbreaking to see what these people go through. Even a little bit, you lose so many personal items, things that aren't covered by insurance. It's just terrible to go through that. And I know there was an issue with gouging on towing. And me and a couple of my friends, we went around in water that we could drive a pickup in 1 foot of water where we found cars abandoned in intersections, and they were told that they would be towed because they're in the intersection. We're pushing them out. And a couple of my friends, they didn't want me to mention their name, but, we all pitched in, helped these people out. The towing charges were anywhere, they were told anywhere between $150 to $450 to tow them out. And there was actually one contractor, I'm not going to mention his name, but he told me he's been pulling people out all day for $350. And that's outrageous that can be taking place. I got a lot of calls and a lot of texts and emails from people that tried calling City Hall, and all they got was a voicemail, and they left their information anyway, and they want to know if that information that they left is good, and what good is it doing? What actually, by leaving their information, what did that accomplish?
Earlier, maybe I said address that the calls that come in, messages left. We were staffed all weekend in the mayor's office with people answering the phones. We put their name on their master list. People are bringing up FEMA paperwork. There's no FEMA paperwork that hasn't reached that level yet. But all that is, it's given us a list of the people that were flooded, and we're keeping a master list.
Now, because, say, if someone didn't call by 10 a.m. yesterday, are they out of luck?
That information we discussed with Wayne County. That was improperly put out there by some inappropriate information was put out that messed up the county and all the communities trying to collect the paperwork. There was no time limit. We had a time limit that we had to submit preliminary data back to Wayne County, and we got that in. People can still call tomorrow, this week. This is a list we're going to keep for the future. So we've got our statistics, how many actual homes were affected, so they can continue calling. Some people have called 2 or 3 times. We have a database. We check it. Some of them are down there already. And we tell everybody to keep track, watch Dearborn Heights website, Dearborn Heights cable. If anything goes further where we need additional information, if the governor sends it up federally and there's FEMA paperwork, that will be, on news, on cable. As long as our cable is up and running, we'll be good.
Yes.
Oh, go ahead, Chrissy.
I was just going to add 2 really quick things that Councilman Wenzel brought up. The price gouging. The price gouging has always been an issue anytime there's a flood. It's not only that, but it's restoration companies coming in. I got a call, and I'm not going to name the restoration company, but he told me that the firefighters and police officers that were out there Friday and Saturday, then the DPW on Sunday, saved residents on average of $1,250. On average, they were out there for 5 minutes a household, pulling out 1 or 2 cabinets. So these gouging continues. We're asking residents, if they don't feel comfortable with prices, to call us. We're not going to recommend companies, but we do have 2 companies that really helped us this week. Again, I'm not going to advertise their name, but they actually were there giving us updates that we were posting on Facebook about furnaces, hot water tanks. Most of them don't have to be replaced. There's parts that they have to fix. So if you have any issue, any resident has an issue and that doesn't sound right, first of all, get 2 quotes. Secondly, call the mayor's office, and while we're not maybe able to help you with your assistance in that, we will get you a more accurate statement and whether it's broken or not. Secondly, anybody that called the mayor's office throughout this weekend, and I know people were having problems Monday morning, but all 4 phones were off and being answered, we did call everybody back from there. If they didn't get a call back, either they weren't clear in writing the number down or maybe in speaking the number, we are continuing to get calls, and something we're doing different this time than last time, there's two things. The forms, we're not providing forms. We provided forms before, and Dearborn Heights is unfortunately very used to the flooding, so we've got the situation down in the forms. We distributed forms in 2014, we distributed forms in 2004. Those people turned in the forms along with photos and thought they were all set. When FEMA left in 2014, I remember they told all the radio stations, you have to come in, you have to come in, you have to come in. There are some people that didn't get anything or a couple $100, but there are people that got $30, $40, or even $50,000. These people, some of these people, lost out on that money because they thought they were all set submitting data to the mayor's office. So if you call the mayor's office, or if you were at the Red Cross, or if you're going to be at the Dowaday Room tomorrow, which I don't think this is going to air by then, but any agency you're reaching out to, we're going to make sure that you get on that list, and within the next week to 10 days, somebody from the mayor's office will be calling you back personally. We're going to get all that information. We're doing it all electronic. We have emails set up, and we are going to personally go through it. We're not adjusters, but we know the information we need, and we're going to, again, tell them that when FEMA, if and when FEMA comes in, or another state agency, this is going to be different. We don't want anybody to lose out on any opportunities. So continue to call the mayor's office. Like Chief Gavin said, we have one resident, God bless her, that she calls every hour just to make sure, and she's still on the list, so we will continue to take names.
You're still chief.
He's always chief. I don't think he's ever.
Am I correct in the assessment that the forms that we're giving to Wayne County is going to be used with the other, to qualify for disaster by the president? So they're trying to accumulate, because there's a $15 million threshold that has to be hit.
I saw the community submitted them yesterday, the Wayne County preliminary.
Right.
They're compiling everything to the governor.
And the other thing was, I was very thankful that I received a call from Governor Whitmer. I received a call from both of our congresswomen, Debbie Dingell and Rashida, pledging their full help and support. Senator Peters came in on Sunday. He pledged his particular support. So hopefully we will get federal assistance. But so people are not, it was to come up with that assessment number, and hopefully we hit the 50 million.
Councilor, I have one more statement. Just one more thing.
I have Councilman Bazey, then I'll go to you. And then
Go ahead.
I just want to follow up on that. Saturday, we had our Ecorse Creek cleanup, and there were some areas that we had scouted before the flood. One of them was Detroit Street, right off of Van Born. And I went down there with a crew, and the water level obviously was down, but the street had about a half-inch of muck in it. So we drove in there, got through the muck. Before we finished that cleanup, which took about an hour and a half, the city came by with a street sweeper, cleaned the street. Wasn't perfectly clean, but it was clean enough to walk in and not get your boots out. So I know they were out all day and Saturday and maybe over the weekend, but my hat's off to the DPW workers.
Okay, Councilman Bazey?
Okay, so echo what Councilman Wenzel mentioned. I also received several calls, probably from the same people. There should be a process. If somebody calls, I mean, even today, I've gotten calls from people, nobody responded to them. So they called, they left their phone number, their address. So, I mean, we keep going back and forth, but to better this process, can the city post the addresses, or something that they can actually look at, that, hey, your address, we got it, it's listed, thank you, or something, because these people have not gotten a response yet, and they're still waiting, and they don't know, because they saw the post that Councilman Wenzel was mentioning, 10:30, oh my God, I'm done, I can't do nothing.
And we'll do the best, but from 8 o'clock this morning, and we're still here at 6 o'clock, every phone call that come in, we answered today, yesterday. A few phones were busy and it went to recorder, and I called a few back today. So maybe we can compile a list.
But we want to talk to them, though. If they didn't get a call back, there's a problem. Either we didn't take down the number right, we're having a lot of extra help from different departments come in and take the number right, or they didn't speak clearly, or sometimes when they're so upset, we want to make sure that we get the right information from them. So it's something that if they're telling you that there's a disconnect. I mean, we posted the phone number in a bunch of different places. People are also calling the DPW, but we really need to speak to them because we've got the information that we need to get from them.
Because also, too, you might want to check with your phone provider, because when you take a voicemail message and you listen to it, there is an option, I'm not sure who your provider is, but I can push a certain number and it reads back the number that was on that recording, whether I can understand them or not, because I've done that with my own personal phone.
Ours will go back the last 15, but I had 172.
Well, no, I'm not
as
talking caller ID on the
Right,
phone itself.
right.
This is the actual voicemail. I had, at one time, 50 voicemails, and I could push that number, and it told me every number.
I will check with them.
But you got to look for it. It's buried in the system. It's something you normally wouldn't use if you didn't know if it was there.
No, okay, yeah, I will ask them about that.
And Madam
I also
Chair?
tried to ask them to broaden it and transfer other calls to get many people.
The other thing is, as Councilman Wenzel, I've gotten calls, and actually, it's pretty disgusting that, I remember after 9/11, I was, after the 9/11 incident, people were gouging residents or people with gas. So, I remember I was activated, so, the government got involved, and they fined those individuals for price gouging. So, with this here, we have towing companies. There's one towing company, I don't want to mention its name, because it's actually vetted by the city, and it was recommended by the city, and it's used by the city. They were price gouging. It was ridiculous. They were charging between $500 to $600 with 3 residents that I talked to. Okay, that company that I actually checked a few companies in the city, Dearborn and Taylor and a couple other cities that use different company, and their price was less than a quarter what this company was charging during that day.
If that's a company that's associated with the city or anything,
Yes.
I would recommend talking to Chief Voltatore. That's not...
I'm telling you right now, this happened, so this company needs to go back to their log, or maybe the chief can go back and talk to this company.
And see if
because
it
I'm
was
sure they
a
have
police
receipts.
tow or a private tow, whatever, but yeah, there's...
Well, the police was present in that
Okay.
area where they were towing this one particular vehicle for $500 and something, and it was the next day he went to pick it up, and he asked if they can pull his vehicle, but they towed it to their yard, and they still charged him that. It's ridiculous that these guys, they're already suffering from the flood, and now we gouge them on towing their vehicle. So now they got their vehicle out of commission in their house.
Yes.
So we need to find out, you need to let the residents know, for whoever was gouged in that particular towing company, they need to go talk to the police and maybe file a report, get some of their money back.
And another reminder, and I'll let Chief Dan talk, we have a lot of junk collector scavengers going out there. State police had recommended maybe a good idea is when you put your items out at the curb, spray paint, put an X on it, something, so that property don't end up at the local thrift store where me and you are going in to buy it. So if there's some way that damaged equipment put out there, if you mark it, and then we've been working with the police and making sure that they're enforcing our junk collector scavengers and that. We don't need people going down the streets collecting this stuff.
They're going to do it.
Chief Dan?
Yes.
There was an issue that was brought to our attention by one of the Councilwoman Lisa Hicks Clayton. She sent an email about a towing service that was charging some fees. I talked to our towing service that we use. He gave us our fees that he charges. Some of the fees are more expensive because it's specialized equipment that they're using. As far as the gouging, anybody that was on the roadway who operated a car into the water, those were the vehicles that had to be removed from the roadway. So if the car could be picked up out of the water and placed somewhere, that's a specific fee. If it's picked up and towed out and stored, that's an additional fee. So, yeah, some fees can be up to close to, $500 if it was picked up with the specialized equipment, hauled to the yard, and then there's a storage and towing fee. So it does add up. Is it gouging? Pardon?
Someplace along the line, somebody has to have a heart.
Yeah.
Well, so,
Somebody has to have a heart
And give them a price
somewhere.
break during something like
I mean,
hang on, so the company that we used, prior to them engaging in any service, they told them what the prices were. The cars have to be moved out of the street.
Okay.
So it's your responsibility not to drive into the water.
Madam Chair, a follow-up question on that. Thank you, Madam Chair. Wait for the floor. Chief Vault Attorney, let me ask you, because I do believe during times like this, we need to show compassion. We need to lead with compassion. There needs to be some understanding. These people have lost everything. And then now to even the full price, I mean, we know we can do better than that in my mind. But my question for you is, because I emailed you, you're correct, to ask you about this, because it was brought to my attention whatever evening that was, maybe on a Friday night, I don't recall, but whatever night it was. But my question is, did the resident have an option to either use our tow service, or if they had their own through their insurance provider, the auto insurance, were they allowed that option? Is my question, because I had been advised that if someone did not give them that choice.
they still can go through their insurance.
Well, they were allowed, they could use their insurance, but they were told no. They were told they had, now this is coming from somebody else, of course.
So if a police officer responded to the scene and the car was in the roadway creating a traffic hazard, that vehicle was pulled out and removed to dry ground. If they said, hey, I could get this towed out of here or whatever, then they were responsible for the fee for removing it from the roadway.
For safety reasons.
For safety reasons,
Because it's
correct.
impeding
So,
traffic.
I mean, officers would go through, pull cars out of the, and that's just from the tow service. We had, like, former Chief Gavin said, we had our MRAP going through pulling people out of the cars for safety reasons, and, you know, the next thing was to get their cars out of the roadway. So it's, I mean, some of them were pushed out, some of them were hauled out, but none of the people that were, I'm going to sound cold, but they drove into places they shouldn't have been. And the majority of these happened, they weren't on the side streets, they were on major thoroughfares. So that's, I understand people thought they had to get somewhere, but if we were talking about turning the sirens on because it's an emergency, then you probably shouldn't be driving to places you don't need to be. So, I mean, you can't have everything your way all the time. So,
Let's make sure that the police department didn't set these fees.
No.
the police
Let's
department
make
has,
that clear. You guys did not
we have
set
no
the fees.
problem, we don't set
We gotta
fees,
make
we get
sure that
no
we know that.
reimbursement from the towing agency, we have nothing
Those
to do
are
with it, other than they're
Those
the
are set
authorized
fees.
towing
Good
agency.
point.
And we did see that night, after 5 o'clock, when the kids were home. I was down there, people were driving by as fast as they can, making wake. It looked like a bunch of boats. So
I know.
these were the ones that were out playing in the water, and maybe they're some of the ones that broke down or got stuck.
But let's emphasize, we have no contractual arrangement. None of those fees come to the city at all. We are not in the, like other communities, they get $100, $200 a tow. We do not have any contractual arrangement with any towing company, period.
No, we don't.
Okay, at this
That's
point, I'm
correct.
going to have everybody just do one more question apiece and make it a short question,
I
so
have
we can
a
wrap
comment
this
just
up.
for the chief here. He said they shouldn't be driving. I pushed out 10 or 11 cars Wednesday. The first one was 3 a.m. in the morning. I was going grocery shopping. I didn't realize it was flooded. I walked out my door, I seen it flooded. I got a four-wheel drive truck. I went out on Telegraph. Right on Hanover, I seen a car right at the edge of the water. A guy standing there waving and waving. And I stopped, and he said, "Can you push me out?" He says, "I started a new job today." He says, "I got 2 hours early, and I'm stalled out right here at the edge." So I pushed him out. So some people have to drive in the water. The last guy I pushed out was about 6:30 in the evening, and it was in an area where, real close to my house, not deep water at all, but he said a guy came by flying with a four-wheel drive truck, and they passed each other and splashed all over, and his car stalled out, and the police were going to tow him away if he didn't get his car out of there right away. So, I mean, some people, you have to do something. You can't just sit at home. You can't say, well, you shouldn't be driving through that water. So some people have to drive through the water and take a chance. So it's not just their fault for this happening. And the price gouging happened, it's a fact. I can get written statements from people I know, and it's something that was terrible, and some kind of action should be taken, because like Councilman Bazey, I have names of companies that did this.
I do too.
Councilwoman Hicks?
Thank you. Just real quick, again, this is an ongoing problem. We know what the fix is. The Army Corps of Engineers have made the recommendation that pass peer and independent review. It is in congressional appropriations. We all should be lobbying, by the way, encouraging our residents to lobby, to call, to write, work with our Congresswoman Tlaib and Dingell, as well as county officials. This is a time we need to all be coming together and walk the talk.
And in addition,
That's not my question, though.
Well, you need to also include the county exec, because we have a consent agreement with the county, and the county has the power to implement the plan, and they would be obligated to under the consent decree. I'm sorry to interrupt.
No, you're absolutely correct, and I agree 100%. I've said that for several years now, because 2014 for me was very eye-opening, walking from those homes and seeing what I saw these last few days. I'm shocked, again, all over. I think it's worse. But my question is, this is my last question. Are you ready? Okay. My question is, and this is coming from residents who are flood victims, especially along Hanover, right?
Question.
The homes, part of the FEMA mitigation grant that were now gone, we have the space. Part of the grant, if I recall, and I think others will concur with me, was going to be turned into this greenway, similar like a mini Heinz, with the deep root plants and all these things that would help with stormwater management. Because what happened is the homes that are left there, they took a brunt of water from this storm. And they were under the impression that wouldn't happen. So the question is, where are we in that process and funding-wise? Because that was from that grant. Thank you, Madam Chair.
So that was never, that project, like we explained to council, we explained to other people, that should have maybe helped it this much. That was more on a poster child project, because the solution is the $265 million solution. It's not the $1.3 million grant that or I think 2.3, excuse me. So that is in the process. We were ready to plant in the fall when we had a new person come to the state police, and they offered our engineers the opportunity to possibly redesign that from what they initially had was the plant system, but actually put in a little bit, it's not a retention basin, but there's a place where it can hold the water and then drain back to the creek after it. That had to get extra FEMA approval. That's still getting extra FEMA approval, but it should be done. I mean, like, we've got the engineers ready. This isn't like the Army Corps study. This is like months and months, not years and years. So sure. That is. And the other people that think that there's these huge grants out there that the city gets, these grants are small. The next grant that we had was the Courier grant that we're still working on. That's for 8 homes. We're not. Right. They really need to contact the higher up officials, because these little 8 homes at a time is not going to fix the problem.
Right. Okay, thank you.
Yeah, but I just feel very sorry for the residents and what they had to go through. I mean, it is very, very devastating, obviously. So I just hope that the people higher up, whether it's the county, the state, or the federal government, can figure out a solution to this. And this is the United States in 2019. This has been an ongoing problem that I remember from my age for 15, 20 years, and then I've read in the papers 40, 50, 60 years. I just cannot believe that in the United States of America, 2019, with all the money that we've got available to us, we cannot find a solution to this. When I say us, I don't mean the city. I'm talking about higher up, over and above us. I have spoken with some people on that, but obviously it's got to, something's got to be done. We can't just keep talking about this and talking about this and talking about this, because as we all know, it's not over. It's going to happen. I mean, when it rained today, I mean, my head was on my heart thinking, I feel sorry for people who have to go through this.
And it's going to continue to
Yeah, honestly, it's a shame on a lot of us.
Councilman Constant.
Well, 2 questions. And number 1, regarding the towing fees, there are investigations, there's a class action lawsuit that, towing companies gouging, people get arrested for drunk driving and they impound their cars, or they're in an accident. It's this recent investigation that involved the Mayor Taylor, that arose out of wiretaps and different information regarding their towing contracts. But the city, the company that does towing for or is sometimes called by the police for Dearborn Heights, they're not on a list, we don't receive any of that money, there's no contract between us and them.
In all my years here, and now I'm present chief, there was never a contract with a tow company. When I was chief, if we didn't like their services, we could switch companies at any time. There was no connection. Some cities, like you brought up, have a tow yard, get a percentage of the tow yard. We have no money coming back. They do the tow. They've been here as long as I was a policeman, 40 years. If their service wasn't good, I'm sure we would have got rid of them. But I would hope for these other companies, if you got some names, work with Chief Altatorni. I mean, it's not right.
No, it isn't.
Okay, Ray,
Number two.
Ray, did you have anything, or are we done?
This is pretty much done, other than we need big help from outside our city for these people. It's sad, I'm sick, I want to cry.
Okay, well, thank you. Thank you, Lee, very much. At this point, I'm going to move on to the budget wrap-up. What I'm going to do this year is I'm going to ask all the council members to email me by Thursday
We're
with...
going to go do the residents after.
Yeah, you'll get...
We'll tell you the taxes for that.
Home Depot.
Oh,
Got the numbers for Home Depot.
We'll get it later.
we can get it from you later. Let me finish this and then... Okay, as far as the budget wrap-up goes, I'm going to have all the council members, if they feel that it needs to be any change whatsoever to these, maybe there won't be any, but if you have any changes, email me by Thursday, and I'll get them together, and then I'll bring them to the next meeting, and we can figure out where we're at, and then just wrap it up, get it done, instead of just going for hours line by line. Individually, just email me and tell me what you want to change or what you feel needs to be higher or whatever, and
That's a good idea.
That is a very good idea.
save a lot of, and then, so at this point, I'm going to open it up to public comment. Come up to the podiums.
You see that already. I wanted to make sure that the recording got on TV at 9 a.m. tomorrow.
Oh.
For the senior citizens who do not have cable or do not have internet, they need to have TV. They need to know where to go from 1 to 8 tomorrow.
And maybe they can post it at the senior centers too, maybe.
We can try to do that. This is not on TV anyways, the study sessions, there's no room on cable, so it's only on YouTube, the study session.
We have it on Facebook, we have it on...
Yeah, but there's senior citizens.
Can we post something at the senior centers?
Didn't Stan put it on cable?
Deputy Director Constant, can we post something at the senior centers possibly?
Flyers on cable.
We got it. So can we put Deputy Director, I was talking to Deputy Director Constant, is it possible we can get something at the senior centers, even something posted on the doors tomorrow morning?
Thank you.
That would work perfect, thank you. That way they're aware of it, because they all watch it on cable. Okay, I'm opening it up to public comment. Please step up to the podium, state your name, address, and please limit it to 3 minutes.
Hi, how's everybody doing?
Good.
My name is Tanya Thomas Jefferson. I live at 24302 Hanover. And I heard you guys kind of commenting about the houses that you had torn down. And I was wondering, because primarily my house takes the brunt of it, even though if you were thinking about maybe making a reservoir or somewhere where that water could be held, because I'm a new resident, technically haven't been here 18 months, and in that time frame, my car has been flooded, my home, and then this time I lost both of them, the car and the house. They called me today. The car is irreplaceable. So, and I'm on board. I really like the way everybody was talking in regards to making certain that we kind of look at this, and if it's anything I can do, however I can help, I'm willing to find a way to put some time into. But we really need a serious solution, because I've never in my life been afraid of rain.
Yeah.
I am can you hear me? I'm going home and it's raining. What is that? Is that some crazy food? And I'm sorry for even sharing it to you like this. That's some, I've never in my life been like, oh, the rain. I like rain. I never had
I know what you're saying. We've all been through it.
Anxiety now.
I want to make sure I got your address. You're at 24302 Hanover?
302. So it's that corner house right behind the creek.
Yeah.
Yup. And it's like this, you know, I wanted to just come and kind of get ready to retire but this is like, whoa. I don't know. I don't know if my heart can take much more of this. It's more than what I thought I was coming here for.
Well, thank you very much for taking your time out.
You can make a reservoir. That's what I was.
Thank you for taking your time out of the evening to come in tonight.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Any other residents, please step up to the microphone, state your name, address, and you have 3 minutes. Just go ahead.
I'm really exhausted. My body is killing me.
Okay, your name, address, in 3 minutes. Your name?
Oh, I will try to talk in 3 minutes, but I got 30 years to scream about.
I understand.
24322 Hanover, the big Hanover. 2014 really flooded. That was my first big one, devastated. $25,000 I lost, blah, blah, blah. Did not cover my driveway, just nothing. 2014, the city, my understanding, changed the tri-level that I bought to a basement. Today, when the insurance company came, they only paid me for the basement. They did not pay me for any of this stuff here, my couches, my bar, everything I had in there. None of it was covered, just what I had in the basement. I've been paying taxes, okay, since 2014 for the whole house that I cannot live in anymore because I'm not putting anything down there. I have grandkids that come and spend the day and sometimes quite a few days with me. I can't send them down there to play. I lost all their toys. Everything was gone in the flood. And I want to know what's going to be done. My understanding when I came to pay my water bill, them 3 houses that they knocked down, they're putting in their native plants. That my understanding is that they suck up water, but it's not going to help our flood. This is what I heard. Then I heard that they're buying 16 houses that are left on that same side. I want to know what they're doing. My biggest thing I want to do is to get out of Dearborn Heights. I want to know what you're going to do about that, Mr. Mayor, because I'm pissed. I've had my fill, really.
Understand.
I lost again, okay? I mean, my whole body is just gone. And I just want to know what you're going to do about it.
I don't know that, I got your address, I'm pretty sure, 24332 Hanover. We will hope that we will receive some additional monies for...
I already sent all the paperwork, tons of pictures this high in 2014 to you.
Yeah.
I sent it to the county. I didn't get a penny.
No.
But I understand you guys got money. This is my understanding.
Yeah.
This is what I heard.
What we certainly recognize that Hanover is a very critical one, as is Courier, that if we can get additional monies to purchase homes, we certainly will attempt to qualify for that. The ultimate solution is obviously the Army Corps of Engineers plan that came in at 265.
I don't care about them.
But, well, it would do 2 things. That, number one, that plan removes, assures that the amount of flooding would be reduced to about 3%. Most of that would be street flooding. The other thing it would do is get everyone who lives down there, and you've been a longtime resident, so you're probably like me and don't have a mortgage and are not in a flood
No, I'm
insurance.
sorry, I am not like you.
Okay.
I flooded, you didn't. I still have a mortgage.
Yeah, but I have flooded in the past. It's not just now, but.
I got 4 feet, 4 feet the last time, too.
I don't want to.
I know, I warned you, I said I'm upset.
Yeah, and I recognize that.
Trying to be nice.
So what the hope would be, that solution would get people out of the flood, the federal flood insurance, and that would be a considerable saving because they wouldn't need it anymore. It would solve the condition. That is the ultimate solution, is that.
And how long will that take?
Well, we as a group asked our attorneys to tell Wayne County that we want to go with an immediate reduction plan that would assist you particularly, and that would not require, because the one concern with the bigger project is it would have to get federal congressional funding. And my discussion with Debbie Dingle indicated that there's a lot of things that are not funded right now over the conflict with the wall. And so this would be one that the Army Corps of Engineers, the local Detroit group, has budget available, and it would basically, the big part of this, it would fund completely a retention basin at Inkster and Annapolis, and it would hold a lot of water. And that one, I came back to the council and said, let's go for at least a smaller project to show the residents that we want to do something and to help solve the problem for as many people as we can. The project that would go from Inkster to Southfield is going to take a little more time, but at least we can show. But that is a major item in the total project. That will hold gallons and gallons of water, storm water, retain it, and then leach it out after the storm has passed. So I'm hoping that, I hate to give a date, but we are very optimistic on that.
Okay. I mean, if
And
you
also-
build a wall, that would be wonderful.
And ma'am, I don't know if you were here earlier when we were talking about the Wayne County meeting tomorrow at the Justice Center from 1 to 8 with Multi-Agent Resource Center for people who have issues with the flooding. It might be something you might want to look into.
Yeah, I would.
I think it would help anybody. If anybody else out here that has any further questions, that's the place you want to be tomorrow between 1 and 8 at our Justice Center.
Okay.
Between
I
1
think it's
o'clock
just
and
drop
8
it in,
p.m.
Yeah, there's resources.
You're going to
Justice
have
Center
Wayne
is
County
where?
there and everybody, so
The Justice Center.
On Michigan Avenue?
Michigan Avenue and Beach Daily.
Think right now.
Michigan and Beach Daily, kind of by the Home Depot there.
Okay.
Police station.
Oh, the
Yeah,
police station.
yeah. And I think that's going to be your best bet, because you're going to have Wayne County there and everything, and you're going to get, maybe answers that you're looking for.
Madam Chair.
Councilman
Miss,
Patterson?
the way FEMA treats, and it's all through FEMA, your flood insurance, for tri-levels, they treat it differently, unfortunately. A former resident, Troy Brown, had that same problem.
But why did they change my home that I bought in '89 from a tri-level in 2014 to a basement? That's not what I bought. But I'm still paying taxes
On a tri-level.
on a tri-level. So who changes that?
That's the FEMA requirements, and they look poorly, let's say, on tri-levels and quad levels because of that lower level, but that's the FEMA flood
I
requirement.
mean, that house was built in 1958, and just all of a sudden, they decided to change it to a basement when I bought a tri-level and have been paying taxes on a
Is your
tri-level.
flood insurance through FEMA?
Yes, we don't really call it FEMA.
Just let her go. Okay, at this point, we're over the 3 minutes.
Sorry.
I understand you're upset, and I appreciate it.
No, you don't understand now, Mr. Hollis. I mean, I know you said
Don't.
you flooded.
And
but-
I've had a lot of family members that live at the south end that their whole life flooded. I understand.
Yes.
It's not a pretty sight.
No,
I've
it's
been
not. I can't
through-
even
I've seen
think
it.
anymore.
I've seen the aftermath, and it's not.
Yes, I'm still smelling it.
Yes,
okay,
that's
because
one thing you can't get out of your...
FEMA they finally came today, after I filed May the 1st when it happened, because whoever I talked to did not file my claim. I had to call them, and where's everybody at? and they finally came today.
Okay, thank you.
And when they got done telling me,
Thank you.
it's another loss. Next, Hanover Street, take over.
Anybody else want to come on up? You have to state your name, address, and you have 3 minutes.
To call FEMA for her complaint.
Zuhair Abdulhaq, Dearborn Heights.
Okay, Lisa.
I was going to talk about the budget, but it looks like there are more important issues than the budget, and I am very comfortable that the budget is in your hands and you'll do what's right for the residents of our city. First, I want to thank the police department and the firefighters and all the volunteers for what they done on the south end. Second, I looked at all the minutes for 15, 16 years from the city council meetings. Millions and millions of dollars was spent on cleaning sewage, on lining the sewage, on doing lots of repairs and, Band-Aids here and there. I heard our mayor talk about the incinerator. I agree with him. This should be a lake, small lake, retention basin, beautiful for our residents on that site. And it's not going to cost $50 million or even $20 million. It's going to cost, most estimate probably between $5 to $10 million. It is a lot less than the money we spent over the 15 years on Band-Aids in our city. I urge you and I urge the mayor to think about that old incinerator property. You said that you want to do it as a little lake to retain the water from the rain. I urge you to move on it as soon as possible, because these people deserve to live in our city. And I don't want to hear one resident say, I don't like Dearborn Heights and I want to move from Dearborn Heights. I call it home, my home, where I'm going to live and die in it. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Is there any further comment at this time? Your name, address limited to 3 minutes, and this is a budget hearing.
Katie George, 24330 Hanover. I just got my statement, structural damage, total of $14,598 just for basement. I didn't get a check for that. My children's toys, God!
I'm sorry.
I have no heat. My house is 59 degrees. It's cold. And what do I get? Nothing. My children are at home in blankets right now.
What's your address?
24330
Hanover.
24330.
It's cold in my house. I don't have a furnace yet. I don't have this check yet. Think about sleeping tonight with no heat. Think about that.
Put her family up in a hotel or something, please.
Lee, can you take her and maybe talk to her on the side?
We'll talk to her after the meeting.
Can you stick around after the meeting? We're going to try to get, we'll get some help for you.
I'm freezing.
Someone please help. This is...
She doesn't have a furnace. I'm going to replace her furnace tonight on my own cost. These people have been devastated for years. You haven't done nothing. If you seen this lady crying, you should have a shame of yourself. Okay? Have a shame on yourself.
Order them or get rid of them.
All right, point of order.
I'll sit here and take a crap.
I mean, that doesn't even cover personal property. I can't even wash clothes right now.
I understand.
I have a project due for my child's school on Monday. We can't even do because I have no crayons or markers for him to do this project. I mean, luckily his teacher's being very grateful, but I don't even have construction paper. All that is gone.
We'll get that.
All right.
We'll get it for you. You'll meet with Lee.
You're gonna meet
and I
with
will
Lee.
get you what you need to for your kids, your toys, if you need food, if you need toys, construction paper. I'll be by tomorrow. And Lee, please, thank you, Mayor. Please, these are families being impacted. This is too much. This is too much, and I am so sorry. By the way,
it is. I'm sorry.
I am so sorry.
It's
like I don't have any. I don't have any.
None of us have heat.
I don't have any.
None of us have
Acceptable.
All right, well, meet with Lee afterwards, and then he can maybe point you in the right direction, because he is our emergency manager. Okay, any further public comment in regards to the budget?
I'll get the school supplies.
Madam Chair, thank you. At this time, I guess we're going to adjourn the meeting. Thank you.